This is my FMS Super Cub PA-18 1.3 meter wingspan RC plane. It's a very fun one to fly, so let's go outside and get this one rocking. Almost no wind today. The only negative thing then for filming is this almost blue sky, but still very nice. A bit chilly. This is a well-behaved RC plane. Now I've increased aileron authority on mine and to like 120% just to give it a better roll rate. Fly this one really tight if you like. In comparison then to the 1.7, this one flies more like any other 1.2, 1.3 meter wingspan RC plane, and the 1.7 is just a majestic, really well controlled RC plane. So I'm a little bit torn about if I would keep both the 1.3 and 1.7 then. I mean, they look the same, they fly very different. But I mean, I usually just have a lot of high wing RC planes, so it's difficult to pick which ones to keep then. And if I were to look at just only one bush plane, I think there are two planes that kind of sets them apart from other RC planes. And first of it's the Arrows RC Bigfoot. It does have so many good things going for it. And then, although maybe not considered as a bush plane, you have the E-flite Valiant 1.3 also. But I removed the wheels, the wheel pans on mine, and have bush wheels, so it's more or less a bush plane in my configuration. When it comes to landing gears, I mean, this one has I suppose the most robust landing gear I've ever seen on an RC plane, and these airfoil tires also. This makes ground handling really good. Touch and go so easy. They do have flaps on this RC plane, but I don't think that they slow down the plane as much as some other RC planes I have. Although they are set to a really steep angle, as much as I can do. Almost 90 degrees pointing downwards. When it comes to assembly, so I think it's quite easy. You have this split tail then, so it takes a little bit more time. Now the only thing that I don't like, or two things I don't like about them when it comes to assemble this RC plane, or more like disassemble it, because you have this braces then for the wing, the struts, and when they go into these plastic holders, it's so difficult to remove them. So far I've just managed to rip the mounting points then on the wing for both wing halves. And then I think the cabling is a little bit messy in this RC plane. So I'm surprised that they didn't just use the same like quick connector that is on the 1.7. Then I probably would only keep this one. You can put floats on this plane. It doesn't come with floats as the 1.7 does. And in general, I think the FMS has a really sweet thing going for them with almost all their RC planes. Many of them just feature a float set or the ability to just put floats on them. They do have the reflex gyro system, which I think they more or less just include on almost all their current RC planes at least. The build is just second to none. It's a really good build. And good components overall. Now, I have experienced this. I mean, I had one of the flap servos just stop working on mine, so I had to replace it. And I had some issues then with the other FMS RC planes when it comes to servos. So I mean, it hasn't been because there are plastic gear servos, which is usually my complaint. I think that you should have metal gear servos on all RCL planes. It's just that they have been just jittery or just not working at all, more or less. So hopefully the one flap servo then is the only servo that will break on this one. You can easily do like at least 5 or 6 minutes flight time on this plane. And it's really fun to just go around, fly quite low and slow and do touch and goes. You don't have to worry that anything will break, even if it bounces a little bit. I think FMS will just sell a lot of this RCL plane. And I think that they will be around for a long time. It's a really good plane. I mean, I think many of the RCL planes have been around for a really long time. And that's a good thing, because then you know that you can purchase spares and that they will continue to support the RCL planes. I mean, I just hate it when you have a good RCL plane and it takes more or less just a few months or maybe half a year or something, and then it gets discontinued. You can see how easy I mean, more or less just effortless moving this around. It does have the agility, and it does also have this gentle flying thing to it. Bush planes are really fun because you're not worried about the surface as much as you are with, for instance, like tricycle gear or RCL planes or warbirds. You can just take off and land on almost any surface. So let's just get this one down then. A nice flight of the Super Cub. I think this RCL plane makes most maneuvers you do in the sky really well. Of course, I think that if you compare this one to the 1.7, I think the 1.7 has this kind of a majestic appearance in the sky, which this one then lacks. On the other hand, this is more agile, I mean, when you fly them, they look really similar, but with the 1.7, it just has such a nice presence in the sky. And this is more like any other, like 1.2 or 1.3 meter RCL plane. So I think that the thing about this one, which I suppose we will see more, is you have this split tail construction, and this, I guess, will just save a ton of money for shipping on these RCL planes, because you can make the box so small. So I would suspect that we will see a lot more of these split tail RCL planes, and I really applaud it, because I think that if you want to keep the box, you can store the box in a much more convenient way, because it's super tiny. I mean, it's like half the size of a regular box, so it's really good. And this RCL plane, the cool thing then also is the landing gears, all metal gear construction, air-filled balloon tires, which I pumped pretty hard. And it can be difficult to pump this, because you have to use the kind of a nipple adapter and hook it up to your bicycle pump or a similar pump. But I had some in one of the tires, it started to leak, so I just have to be quick, pump it, and just plug in this kind of a nipple plug then. So that's one thing. And on mine, I also have a busted flap servo. So after a few flights, it just went bust without any, impact or anything. So I would certainly just consider that on some of my FMS RCL planes, I have had faulty servos. For instance, my FMS Kingfisher had a faulty elevator servo, which just went bust in a straight on flight, and it just went belly up. Thankfully no damage. And then I also had like an Edge 540 in a smaller size, which had a few servos just jittering. So FMS servos might not be the best. I would certainly just be a little bit careful, and just if they start to malfunction, just replace them with some good Emax servos or any other brand that you trust. But I certainly think that this is a nice looking RC plane. It flies nice, and just a great set of features. You can purchase floats to this one also, so it's really versatile in kind of a environment, so you can fly this wing.